For the longest time, I genuinely thought that being a good person meant always being available, that being kind meant always saying yes, and being caring meant always putting everybody else's needs before my own. And because of that, I spent years doing things I really didn't want to do, saying yes when I really wanted to say no, and feeling like I was responsible for everyone around me. If you told me back then that I was a people pleaser, I would have looked at you and just laughed, and I would have disagreed. But looking back now, I can see that a lot of that was not kindness. It was coming from a place of fear of disappointing people, fear of upsetting people, and fear of not being liked. So in this video, I wanted to talk about how people pleasing showed up in my life, how it affected my relationships, and most importantly, the biggest lessons I've learned from it. It's been such a ride, and I'm always learning and growing. The first sign was that the word no did not exist in my dictionary. So if somebody needed any help, I would be there. If somebody needed a favor, I would be there. If somebody needed my time, attention, energy, support, advice, help, anything, I would literally drop everything and immediately shift all of my attention, all of my energy towards that thing, towards that person. It didn't matter if I was already doing something, it didn't matter if I already had plans, it didn't matter if I was tired. They would become my first priority. The second one is agreeing to things I really did not want to do. So I would say yes to plans, I would say yes to invitations, yes to commitments, not because I genuinely wanted to do them, but because I did not want to disappoint the person in front of me. And after a while, I realized something really sad, because I was spending so much time adjusting myself to other people that I did not really know what it is that I really enjoyed, what it is that I really wanted, what did I need, what kind of life was I trying to create for myself. It is almost like you don't recognize yourself, you become a stranger to yourself. Because when you are always trying to bend yourself to meet other people's expectations, you gradually lose touch with who you really are, and that's really sad. You focus on other people's needs and wants and prioritize them over your own needs, to the point where your own needs become irrelevant, like they become like background noise. And that is so exhausting. You find that you are always the one that's giving, always helping, always accommodating, and often end up attracting people who are so comfortable being on the receiving end. Not necessarily bad people, just people who got used to you being available all the time, being there whenever they needed you. I think it took me such a long time to realize, because for me, people pleasing felt so normal. It felt like who I was. It never really seemed like a problem. I grew up feeling like I had to keep everybody around me happy. I always paid attention to people's mood swings, to what they needed, what they expected of me, and acted accordingly. And as I grew up, I carried that same pattern into all of my relationships, which was problematic. Also, I saw it everywhere around me, especially from women, because women are taught from a very young age to prioritize everybody else's comfort before their own. They would always be accommodating, always be agreeable, always be selfless, always be helpful. And although these traits are really positive and good traits to have, but not really when it comes at the expense of who you are as a person. because you should not be losing yourself in the process of doing anything. I also genuinely thought that being useful was what kept the people around me. And I thought that if I stopped being useful, that they would all leave. But I realized that that's not really true, because the people who really love you and genuinely care about you don't value you for what you do for them. They value you for who you are as an individual, for who you are as a human being. It has nothing to do with what you have to offer them. They just like you as the person you are. One of the biggest consequences of people pleasing is feeling resentment. So I would give, and give, and give, eventually reaching my breaking point. So when I would reach my breaking point, I would end up feeling so resentful towards that person, and I would go completely ghost. So I would act like that person never really existed in my life to begin with. I would just go completely cold, ignore them. Yeah, like they never really were there to begin with. And I think that is not really fair to yourself or to the person in front of you. And it does leave the other side feeling so confused, because what do you mean you suddenly just disappeared, just went ghost on me without any explanation? Another problem is authenticity. So because you're constantly being a people pleaser, the person in front of you meets the version of you that you molded yourself into becoming because you thought that is what they needed. That was the version that would make them most comfortable. That was the version that would accommodate to all of their needs, to all of their wants, to everything they ever look for. And that is not the real you. That is the version of you that you created because of what you think the other person needs. You know, the version that is always agreeable, always avoiding conflict, always helpful, always mindful, and all of these things. But that's not truly who you are. That is not the real you. That's not your authentic self showing up. And because of that, you don't really ever build true connections, because people don't really know who you really are as a person. You have a different version of yourself depending on who you are with. And because of that, connection starts feeling like demand. Connecting with people or being around people starts feeling so exhausting that you think it's a chore. You know, that one of the things you have to tick off your to-do list. And that's only because of people pleasing. It does not mean that there aren't good people out there. No, it's because you created so many versions of yourself. You are trying to do everything for everyone, and that has to be exhausting on anybody. So I started noticing a pattern. I started noticing that the same situation was repeating itself over and over again. It was the same thing. I was always the one giving, always the one helping, and then end up feeling exhausted. And then we repeat the cycle of people pleasing, and then we feel resentful, we pull away, we go cold, we disappear. And then I would wonder, why does this always happen? Why does it never work out for me in my friendships? But then I came to a realization, because when a pattern keeps repeating itself in your life, it's worth asking yourself what is going wrong, because you might be doing something wrong. You are most probably doing something wrong, and there is a problem in you. You need to look inward and try to see where that's coming from. What's the root of that problem? And that's how I started noticing my people-pleasing tendencies. People-pleasing keeps you from finding your people. Now, this was one of the hardest realizations for me, because when you're constantly adjusting yourself to make other people comfortable, they are not connecting with you. They're connecting with a version that is always saying yes, that never really needs anything, that avoids conflict at all cost. And if that's the version they're interacting with, they're not interacting with you, they're not connecting with you as an individual. And I think that's the reason people pleasing can feel so incredibly lonely, because you might be surrounded by a bunch of people but still feel unseen, because nobody really knows who you are deeply as a person. And you hiding yourself behind this mask of people pleasing genuinely keeps your people away from you. The people you've always really wanted to get to know or wanted to be friends with won't come in your life, because they don't get to interact and connect with the authentic, real version of yourself. The second thing was also hard to realize, but if you're holding on to these wrong people, to these relationships that depended on you overgiving and being a people pleaser, the base of the relationship was you being a people pleaser, then you are not gonna be able to meet your people, because you don't have enough room, and these people are occupying your life, occupying your time, taking up your time, your energy, your attention. So when are you ever gonna have time for the healthier relationships to come into your life? These people are taking up that space, and you have to empty up the space for the right people to enter. If these people stay in your life, there won't be room for the right people to come in. Number 3, no is a complete sentence. So you don't need to explain yourself, write a whole paragraph explaining why you cannot attend that party, why you cannot go out with that friend, why you cannot do X, Y, and Z. Because if you don't want to do something, that's a good enough reason to not do it. If you are tired, if you want to prioritize other things, if you want to catch up on rest, if you just simply want to sleep, whatever it is, if you're not feeling like it, just say it as it is, or just say no. You don't have to have an explanation. And sometimes some people lie about it, make up some excuses, but really, no is a complete sentence. And you know what's interesting? When you say no, it gives the people you're connecting with or the other party permission to do the same. So if they don't feel like doing something, they won't be pressured or won't feel pressured to say yes. They know they can feel safe enough to say no if they don't want to do something. And that sounds so much healthier than people just dragging themselves to do things that they don't really want to do, and then you know the drill. The fourth lesson: not everybody deserves unlimited access to you. That was one of the biggest mistakes I used to make, because I would give everybody the same amount of time, the same amount of energy, the same amount of focus. I would focus all of my attention on them just because they asked for something. But I do things differently now, depending on how close I am with that person, how long did I know them for, how much do I trust them, and is it like a reciprocal relationship or not? All of these factors, you should take them into account. You don't owe unlimited access to everybody just because they ask for it. Just say no. And the last one: people care far less than you think they do. So for me, canceling plans, saying no, not showing up, and all of these things felt like such a huge deal when they really were not. People know that life happens. You might need to catch up on rest, you might have work to do, you just might want to sleep, and all of these things. And the healthy people, the right people, really wouldn't care about that. People don't take it offensively. They really don't care. They don't make it such a big deal. It's only in your head. They genuinely don't care. And if somebody is upset about it, that does not make you the problem, because you have limits, you have things to do, you have a life, you have your own time that you want to spend doing things that you love, and that's okay. You know, you don't have to make their problem your own problem. That's up to them. You are allowed to take care of your needs without feeling guilty for it. And abandoning yourself, sacrificing yourself, and being a good person are completely different things. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching.